Hello, traders. Welcome to the live Ultima EA webinar, automated trading system based on waves and fibs. I hope everyone can hear me properly. Very excited about being here and going through all the questions you might have, introducing everything, of course, to you in this live webinar. So thank you for the confirmation that the sound is working. My name is Chris Forsick from Elite Currency, and this Ultima EA developed by Mislav Nikolic, part of our ECS family already for 3 years. Time flies. And specifically on this, EA has worked more than 1.5 years already. I'll explain the entire process, the results, the back testing, how to join, of course, obviously, as well. All of that coming up in this live webinar. Mislav is in the chat as well, so he's going to chime in, jump in. So keep an eye on that. Of course, feel free to reach out through the chat with your questions. Obviously, that's why we have this webinar, because so that we can get feedback from you and get an idea what is on your mind, what is unclear, what questions do you have. And this webinar is for that. It's to make sure that everything is clear, the whole process, and make sure that you're ready and feel confident to start if you want to, of course. So let's get started. So wanted to jump in right away, just get right away started with the good stuff. And that's the results, of course. Ultimately, we traders and look at the long-term stats. One win, one trade is nothing. I compare it to the weather, right? You never know, even if it's a 50% chance of rain, you never know if it's going to rain or not. One setup is nothing, but long-term, yes, we need to see good results, and Ultima delivered. We got 6 months live track record. That's a decent start, and we're confident that that will only be better 6 months from now, 1.5 years from now, etc. So this is an image. I'll show you the actual MyFX book link in a second, but good start, as you can see, more than doubled, 132% with the 10K account going up to more than $23,000. And here you can see a little bit more of those stats. So you can see left upper corner, right? You see basically the monthly division and gain. So 2 months I had a small loss, otherwise all profitable months. This is live results. Actual results and performance based on live trading. We have a lot of back testing going years, actually more than a decade, in fact, showing past performance. And there we can see that some months have even better track record, going actually into 100, 200%. Sometimes it's just 1 month. Sometimes, yes, months have negative results too. I'm very, very honest about that, because we want to prepare you for what could happen so that you can, you're ready for that, right? You're ready for these ups and downs, what is part of trading. In the right upper corner, you see statistics, basically about 55% win rate, 54 on long, 60 on short, to be precise. And you see a profit factor of 1.62, 125 trades, and you see almost 1,600 pips gained. So that gives you kind of an idea about the stats, 1 day average trade length. And recently we had a kind of a very nice win streak. That is by coincidence. We didn't necessarily plan that, obviously. But since, as you can see here in the bottom screenshot, you see 10th of December to 2 days ago, a lot of green fields, right? So I'm not sure how many there are, but I guess about 12 wins, I think, and 2 losses there in the last month. Now I don't want to indicate that is always like that, right? Because as I just showed you, the long-term stats indicate more like a 55, 60% win range. But yes, sometimes you got great streaks like this, and that push the account ahead. Something like, for instance, we had also in August, September, as you can see here with this upside. So yes, if the screen is not working, please try to refresh, I guess, the browser. That could work indeed. So I want to show you the stats also live. So I got to switch over here. It's a little bit disadvantage of this presentation. I got to close this, reopen the other one, but that's okay. We got plenty of time, I hope. Otherwise, you can always look at the recording. It will be uploaded to YouTube channel of ECS, and you can always review it again, take your time to go through it one more time, and take a look again, of course. Let's take a look at this. All right, there we go. Just, I know that some of you are aware and know my FX book. So yes, track record is verified, trading privileges is verified, 2 green checks there in case you were wondering and curious about that. Real USD account, as you can see, technical automated, and Mislav and I started this account in beginning June. So that is indeed more than 6 months now. So it shows you the same as the screenshot, but it's always good to, I think, show that we're not manipulating documents or something like that. Obviously, I don't think you think that, but you can take a look at the stats in more detail here. It's the same basically with regard to what we just showed. Ultimately, December ended up at plus 16, not plus 10 as the screenshot showed. So that's the only difference, I guess. And we got 2 trades open that are in profit, as you can see. And yeah, we had a great history run. Okay, so that gives you an idea about, here you can see a lot of green fields. Gives you a little bit of idea about the performance in live trading. If there are any questions, of course, feel free to reach out. Based on that, we started the Ultima page. You can check that out here. So I wanted to throw out that link right away at the beginning so everyone is aware of that, so that you can find it, you can know more information about it. It will be updated with more info as we go along. But in any case, you can find the backtesting performance there. I will be sharing that in this webinar. You'll see the live performance as well. But you can always go back to this page, review it, and take a look, of course, at the recording on the YouTube to get all the information again, just in case you want to think about it, of course, and go through things again. Everything is there. Okay, so that's basically, you go to elitecurrency.com, go to services, click on Forex and CFD, basically like this, and then choose Ultima. You can go and choose that by going lower, services, click on the 4th one here, Ultima, and click on learn more. Okay, all right, so let's continue and talk a little bit about things. One second, folks. There we go. Ranking. So this is basically the ROI. It's a dazzling 905. I don't want to use words that are too optimistic necessarily, but this is one case where I think it's justified. That is really an impressive number, 905%. This is return on investment, of course, for those that are wondering, ROI. This is the ranking with really the database with really a lot of traders there, and this is the ranking, and it just started 6 months ago, and it does take the history into account. So that just shows the potential right there. Let me give you some more basics. So now I'll give you a little bit of an impression about what the results are as a first intro. So what is the EA? What is the Ultima EA? So first of all, it's 100% fully automated trading system, which means that the EA will do the entry. It's stealth market orders. So basically our levels, kind of like pending orders, although they are not actually visible for the platform. And when the price goes into that level, there's a market order at that price. It also handles the target, the stop loss, and the trail stop loss, meaning the trade management and the exit. 100%, everything, nothing has to be done, or should be done actually, by the trader. And the trader does not have to be online, does not have to have a VPS, doesn't even have to have a computer, in fact. The only thing you need to do is open a fund account. So that is really automated. When we say automated, it is really fully 100% automated. This is an actual strategy. This is not some funny gimmick where I have seen other EAs, that try to create volume in some funny kind of way with taking a ton of trades in both directions. Yes, occasionally there will be an opposite trade, but that's because the underlying strategy indicates that, and indicates that in the long term there's an edge to trade that way. But the strategy is based on solid tools and methods and concepts like trend, pullback, and continuation. I'll explain the strategy details a little bit, at least later on. But you, for the moment, can know that it's based on SWOT methods, partly with also great stuff added by Mislav, which dedicated a lot of time and research to new concepts as well, including Fibonacci target tool. So great work, and on Wiz as well, improving that target, that tool. So it's based on moving averages and fibs primarily, right? So that is a basic introduction. Regarding number of setups, about on average 1 a day, but of course some days could have more, some days could have none. It's an average. An average is always, something that there's volatility around. And keep in mind that this is for long term. I would like to stress this fact. If you think, let me try it for 5 days, and then I'll decide. Well, 5 days is not enough time to judge the EA. We think it's best to give it a year and then say, lean back, just let it be, let it do its work for a year. That's the great thing about the fact that it's passive. I know sometimes it might be difficult to not think about it, not look at it in a way, right? And just say, okay, let it go for a year. But that's actually the beauty of it. I know, and ironically, it's so difficult actually for traders not to be involved in a way, isn't it? But that's actually the advantage. And if you can just let it be for a year and then judge and evaluate it, we think that's the best. All right. So backtesting. Definitely wanted to show that because I will show you the process of backtesting after I show the results. And that's been top-notch, high quality. Not every backtesting is equally valuable. This one is definitely valuable. And I think it's really important to show how sturdy the backtesting has been done and how long the testing has been done to gain the sense of, to gain more confidence. Now, of course, historic results do not guarantee, the standard risk disclaimers, right? Do not guarantee anything for the future necessarily. But with so much data, I do feel personally, I'll be upfront with you, I personally feel confident enough to trade it with a decent sized money here. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars/euros. It's not a small sum necessarily. So maybe for some, but I think for most not. So that does give me confidence, and that's why we want to share it. This is your dollar 50-minute chart. We did testing for 2.5 years almost. For 1 hour world, we went actually back a decade. Mislav did really a very extensive work on that to make sure that there's a lot of data available. I'm going to show you 4 slides here. Okay, all of this is based on 5%. I think all of it is based on 5% risk per setup. That's indeed on the higher side of, or the max we kind of recommend, because more we wouldn't normally tolerate. And the reason why we can do that is because the strategy is so robust that it does not encounter large losing streaks. Despite the fact that it's trading with 5% risk per setup, the historic drawdown that we see is typically around max about 50%, if I remember correctly. So 50% might sound like a lot, but if you look at the gains that it can make, then it is not a lot, in my view at least. You got to be aware and prepared for that 50% drawdown. But if you look at the upside, well, that's massive, because look at the $1,000 account that in 2.5 years went to almost $1 million. Now, I'm not saying, there are some difficulties with taking 1,000 to $1 million, primarily psychology, because if you have, for instance, a 400K account, will you keep trading with that same risk to make $1 million? That's not an easy question, right? But even if you get to 400K, I think everyone will be pretty happy, right? So whether it's 400K ultimately that you reach, or a million, or even less, I mean, no one knows. But potential, it just shows the potential is amazing, right? If traded with 5% risk, basically, and you keep doing that, and you keep the equity on the account, that's also important, of course, to know about this screenshot, then this is the equity curve that was achieved in the last 2.5 years. Okay. What you're seeing now, there are a lot of comments. I'm not able to follow all of that, unfortunately. But this is backtesting now, specifically we're talking about. What the previous screenshot was an actual real account, indeed, from 10K to 23K in 6 months. So here are the stats, and of that backtesting of the 1K, 1,000, of course, K standing for 1,000. And here you can see the relative drawdown is 49%, almost 50, as I said. Maximal drawdown is 43. Not going to dive into that. There's kind of different ways of calculating drawdown, okay? But that's a detail. 493 trades, almost a million, as you can see. 1,000 is the initial deposit. 55 to 60% win rate here in the middle, as you can see. And what else could be important? Consecutive losses, 6. Consecutive wins, 17. So that's an important aspect, because that shows you that that's why we are, in our opinion, able to trade it with 5% risk, because the number of consecutive losses is shallow and low. So that allows us to trade it with the max risk, in our view, and that also boosts the account quicker when there is a profitable series, when there is a winning streak. And the strategy is very intelligent. I'll explain why later on. I don't want to mix things too much. Let's focus first on the backtesting. So another important factor is the modeling quality, by the way, 99.9. I'll explain that later on as well. This is a 10K account. Obviously, bigger starting sum, grows the account quicker and to a higher sum in that same time frame. That's only logical. So keep that into account. Keep that in mind. If you do think that this is something for you, that, well, you can start with something that you think is small, but the disadvantage is that, of course, the account is not going to grow potentially as fast. So you got to find that sweet spot. Don't, of course, trade something that you think is over the top and you feel nervous about. That is something you shouldn't do either, right? So anyhow, 10K account going up to about 3 million in this backtesting. Keep in mind, though, that in reality, of course, there are things to keep in mind, like brokers and stuff like that. But it shows the potential. Profit factor 1.97. Yes, amazing in my view. Goosebumps. I'm very happy. I'm looking to, take the next step in semi-retiring, and part of that is based on this. I'm very excited about it, as you might have noticed. So otherwise, the stats I don't think are much different here. I don't think that there's much to add. You can see it right here. You can always pause it to when the recording is available to take a look. This is not so relevant, but there's a second way. At this moment, we have a max setup per day. If we don't have that, then the account accelerates even more with the 1K account, or 10K for that matter. But the drawdown is higher. So it's something that we're not doing at the moment. We might change that in the future. And last but not least, that's all 50-minute world, Eurodollar. But we also saw other currencies and timeframes do well. Pound dollar 1 hour chart, for instance, went from, in 5 years, from 1,000 to almost a million, with a profit factor of 2.02, let's say 2, with a drawdown that was a little bit better, depending on how you counted, 30 to 50%. And same impressive figures, basically. But the backtesting was maybe, from this point of view, let's say, very, very solid, because it's even a longer time frame. But on that, the advantage of the Eurodollar 50-minute chart, basically, and 50-minute trading, is that it goes faster. There are more trades. It's a little bit slower. So this is really more for bigger accounts. So, for most of us with smaller accounts, your $1.15 chart, we think is the way to go because it's more aggressive and really can do that account building more than the pound. But absolutely positive, very good results. And we saw positive results on the Euro-Dollar 1 hour, pound dollar 15-minute world, and dollar yen or Euro yen. We saw, I don't remember which, or was it both? Also good positive results, but by far the best Euro-Dollar 15 and pound dollar 60-minute 1 hour. Now, the process of backtesting. Now, this is, I can't even explain in full length, how much detail Mislav put into this, how much hours and how much work and also money in investing with the programmer and improving it week in and week out, in creating the rules, testing, checking, making the EA, retesting it, checking it again. I mean, guys and girls, this is really, it's mind-blowing and mind-boggling how much time that went in that process. It's really so lengthy and detailed, but the strategy is so robust, so refined, so much improved, so much tested, that we really wanted to when we present something, that it be solid and fully ready, not like, okay, we think it's ready. No. So 99.9% modeling accuracy. It was used with real variable spreads. The main difference between 90 and 99.9% modeling accuracy is that with this kind of backtesting, you really you kind of replicate the past, how it was, how it went. With 90%, you could have positive results in backtesting, which are totally not matched in the actual real world. The data providers, Dukascopy for 1 hour, Alpari for 15-minute testing. And here you can see the length, as I already mentioned, going more, back more than a decade. So, the process was very thorough, very time-consuming, a lot of back and forth with the programmer, and yes, very robust, in my view, at least. All right. Now, eventually I will take a look at your notes. I just didn't want to get distracted too soon. We will get an FAQ very soon, and we're going to take a look at all these questions. Some of them have maybe already been answered by Mislav in the meantime. But at this moment, we really wanted to offer it because it is new in the sense that you guys are hearing it for the first time, right? So in that sense, it's new. Not new for us, right? We've been working on it for 1.5 years, but new for our ECS followers and community. What we really wanted to do is give everyone a chance to join without any restrictions, without any sales crunches, marketing, blah, 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 and just really just offer it very simple and straightforward and let everyone have a chance. Really, everyone who just wants to try it, even if it's only $100. That is, for us, not that advantageous, to be honest, because there's a lot of work behind it, even for someone opening up a small account. But we really wanted to help the little guy and allow everyone to give a chance. So that's why, for a time being, for a small period of time, we are going to have no restrictions. That's not going to be forever, to be honest, because there is a lot of work and it's not worth it for us. But we wanted to have no restrictions, that everyone feels comfortable. So basically, we didn't want to have any fees or costs. And that's why we started to work with this profit sharing module. Okay. The profit sharing works like this. So when the account goes into positive territory, that is at the end of the month. If it is in positive territory and closes there, then the profit, so let's say $1,000 account, if it ends up at 2,000, well, then the profit is 2,000 minus 1,000. That's $1,000, right? Very simple. So the profit is shared on that 1,000. Now, the next month, the account goes to 3,000, right? So again, the profit is 1,000. 3 minus 2, and the profit is shared like that. Then the next month, the account goes down. No profit, so no sharing. The next account, so it goes from 3 to 2,000, then up to 3 again. No profit is shared because you need a new peak. You need to pass the previous top point of your account before profit is shared. So that keeps the profit sharing model honest and robust, and you know that there's only going to be profit shared when you go into new territory. The profit sharing, this percentage goes to the trader, to us, and the rest, of course, goes to you, obviously. So I hope that example was clear. So as long as the account is not a new territory, new positive territory, nothing is shared. All right. The 20 to 30%, by the way, is an interesting topic. And this is industry, let's say, pretty recognized, I guess, kind of standard. So you don't have to worry about that. This is a model that works well for both trader and investor. Okay. And it's kind of a fair balance and middle ground there. The percentage, of course, does vary a little bit depending on the capital, logically. So it goes higher for the trader if more capital is invested, and that's what this image obviously shows. Now, how to start is very, very simple. You'll be surprised. It's way more simpler than everyone could have imagined, probably. It's literally opening an account. And when I show these 3 steps, I really literally mean those are the only 3 steps. Opening an account, but through the link on the website, our website, elitecurrency.com. Fill in the form and fund your account. That's literally it, because if you use the link on our website, that's a must, then that account is automatically linked to our master account. And then when you fund the account, then your account automatically starts to copy the trades from the master account. So you don't have to have MT4 open. You don't have to have a Mac, PC. You don't have to be online. You don't have to keep MT4 open. You don't have to have a VPS. You don't even have to have a computer, actually. I know that, that is surprisingly simple. Normally things are a little bit more complicated, typically, I find at least. So, but that's one of the benefits as well. So with the LPOA form, that is actually a limited liability form, some liability form. You need to, when filling that in, you need to write Ultima as a trading agent, because there's going to be a field, trading agent, like question mark or something like that. Just fill in Ultima, then FXDD knows which, it's like extra confirmation that that your account is connected and linked to the Ultima EA and that master account. So the master account basically trades, and all the accounts that you guys will be starting is connected to that master account. That's literally it. So these 3 steps is literally ABC how one starts. A little bit about strategy. We're getting close to the FAQ. Hang in there with me. But we did want to reveal a little bit of the strategy so that you guys, we don't want to say like, oh, look at the results, look at the process. That's it. So we did want to give a feeling of the strategy. We thought it was fair. That said, we don't want to reveal everything because for us, it's too valuable, and we want to protect that. So we will indicate parts of it, but not everything. We hope that's a good middle ground there. So basically, moving averages are used for the trend, pullback, and bounces. Fib indicator for targeting and for understanding how far and in which price zone is. So like zone, like has it extended too far, or is it in a good kind of spot for a trend continuation? Wiz is also detected for bounces. That's Fibonacci tool. And it works with, not actually literally pending orders, but with stealth market orders then. And it's a very dynamic system. It is based on price swings as well, and as those price swings change, so it's very market, reacts to the market movements very well. It will adapt to that. It will move the TP if needed. It will move the stop loss when needed. So it's very good defense from that point of view, because if the volatility decreases, it will adapt to that. But it's also a very good offensive game, because there are times when really the reward to risk trades, especially when the trend is strong, the reward to risk, there are sometimes really nice, solid, big wins that could really boost that account. So you got, I think, great defense. You got good offense. With defense also, if the price goes into kind of consolidation zones, then the market, the strategy does not go into some huge problems typically. It manages to survive those drawdowns. Trending systems, most problematic for them is, of course, ranges. And I think that Ultima does a great job of, living through those periods of time. You can see with the number of consecutive losses, that's very low. The drawdown might seem on the higher side because it's 40 to 50, but keep in mind that's only because we're trading with max risk. Why can we trade it with max risk? Because the consecutive losses are so low. It's because the strategy does so well, even in ranges, in a defensive way. That's why. If it would be traded with lower risk, of course, the drawdown would be obviously lower. All right. So also, yes, opposite trades at times are taken. It's not something that happens very often, but it does accommodate that and does allow that when the underlying strategy has a reason for that. So you can see some of the examples here where the whiz indicator indicates or detects a bounce. Basically, you can see 3 of those trades at the bottom indicated in my FX book, and then the real MT4 account there. You can see all of the signals that close for TP in the image below and on the chart above. All right. So you can see, some of you might recognize the SWOT candles, for instance, here. That is not part of it. That's just for the imagery. But yes, Wiz certainly part of that system. Here you can see more buy signals. And we're looking for trend pullback continuations. Okay, so where we have an edge, but there are certain criteria for trend. There are criteria for retracements. There are criteria for bounces that filter out the bad ones and hopefully keep the good ones, at least in the long term, right? The long-term stats that we showed. Here you can see more examples as the last examples here. One with one of those big wins I mentioned that sometimes really pushes the account forward. 138 pips, that's R2R of 3.5 to 1. So the reward is 3.5 times as large as the risk. So that is giving a little bit of background there, I hope. It is trend pullback continuation, but looking for very specific conditions for entry and very good in defense and offense after the entry in our view. Okay. Now, okay, some of you might be excited, some of you might be interested, but I do want to emphasize, we wanted to make clear that it is an actual trading system with losses. 40 to 45% of the trades are losses. A full loss, right? Or part of the partial loss, okay? We wanted to warn you about that because otherwise you might be excited, you'll try it, and you might think after 2 weeks, boy, that equity curve that I saw, it's not happening, and stop. And all of this will be for nothing. And you might miss the opportunity to have good results in the long run. So it's very important to be patient, patience, and let the EA do its work. And there will be ups and downs. And we can't emphasize enough that that's just something you've got to be aware of and be prepared for. And if you don't feel like you can handle that, then maybe, just maybe, that automated trading is not for you. you cannot interfere when opening an account. Just dedicate that account to the EA. So no other trades from other EA or manually or discretionarily, and no interference with the EA, because otherwise you're kind of interfering with the long-term stats. We're focused. Our main mission and main thoughts are focus on long-term stats. Don't intervene in the short term because we're messing around with the long-term edge that we have. Just let it run so we can capitalize on that long-term edge. And we're only risking capital that we can lose. So worst case, very worst case, we have a drawdown or lose the risk capital. But in order to have a chance to get to the targets we have in mind, we cannot intervene because otherwise we're messing around with the strategy edge and long-term stats. My friend, for instance, had such an experience where he started with a drawdown. Yeah, that can happen, right? You never know at what point you start. Everyone's going to have a different point of starting. I started with a boost up. I was lucky. My friend didn't. He had 2 wins, but then went into a drawdown. So everyone's going to have a different starting moment. If you start in February or March, or you start in January, everyone's going to be at a different spot. And you might be at a moment that the drawdown happens. So that's difficult. We realize that, but there's nothing we can do about that. Just that's something that is tough because you don't expect maybe right away the drawdown. You kind of hope that it's kind of later, right? And then he started to intervene. We therefore don't allow that anymore. And by intervening, he missed a whole series of wins. So I hope you get the message. This is why we wanted to explain this and why it's important to be, even though it's an EA and even though it's fully automated, there's still an important trading psychology factor in it, more than maybe we all realize. So in our view, a couple of the advantages. So we got proven strategy, live trading, and backtesting. It's automated, 24 hours, 5 days. Therefore, no manual errors or decisions needed. No cost for the moment, at least, and profit sharing with no minimum account deposit. That is only now because we want to open it for our audience and have a very low bar for that. That is not going to stay like that for forever, okay? And it's based on solid methods and solid tools and a solid strategy, okay? Now we're going to go into FAQ. So if for those that are looking, if you're running out of time, before we dive into the FAQ, once again, here, this link has more information once again. Okay, I'll add it right there. And just scroll to review everything, go through it, take your time. And if you do decide to start, click open account with supported brokers. Fill in the form that FXCD will send to you. Write Ultima and the trading agent and fund the account. That's literally it. Okay. Now to the FAQ. Is there any? Let me scroll a little bit through the chat here so to get a little bit sense of what was going on here with all the writing. I'm glad everyone is so involved in writing about this. Let's see. Maybe the best is if there are any unanswered questions, actually, if you can write that again, maybe that would be the best, actually. That could be the best, in fact. Win-loss ratio is discussed, indeed, about 40, 55, 60 win percent ratio. Yeah, sometimes some accounts went faster than others. That depends a little bit on what time zone you start. In Christian's case, it took 6 days. Hopefully others will be faster. Henrik has 3 days. Okay, we will send another message to our contact there. We'll send a message to our contact if others will have more lengthy waiting process. We'll try to get that faster. All right. Okay, good to know that. We will give that feedback to FXDD. Let me see. I'm scrolling really quickly through. Yes, you can always write, of course, info@elitecurrency.com for any questions. Indeed, I will write that down below. Yes, indeed, we have a good relationship with FXDD as Mislav wrote. So we can always, as I indicated already, take contact with our main contact person, who is in the management. So it's easier to get things done if you have a closer contact. That's one of the advantages there. For those that, let's see. Okay, we got a question here. Here you can see in the meantime, by the way, FAQ, you can see some of the results, a full kind of overview of the results on different time frames and pairs, euro yen actually as well, as you can see. One thing to keep in mind, by the way, is at the top, if you have your own account, I said that the strategy always uses a stop loss and TP. On your account, you will not see it. So you might be puzzled by that and you might close it or be scared of that. Don't be scared. The master account has a stop loss and take profit. The sub accounts follow the master whenever it enters, exits, moves a stop loss, but you will not see those levels on your account. Only the master account has those levels. So don't be worried or panic if you do not see that. The master account always has it. And whenever a trade decision is made on the master, it's automatically sent to all of the other accounts. So that is a very, very important thing to know. For the moment, we're only trading euro dollar indeed, the 15-minute chart, and that's because it had the best results. But you can see also the results with different various risks and time frames and pairs as well in this overview with all the years as well. Okay, so I will move on to the next slide. You had, I think, some time to look at this for the moment. There's a question I see from Alan. The EA look at high impact news. Yes, it does. Yes, we indeed trade continuously throughout those events. It doesn't react differently towards those events, in the sense that it will close a trade right before the FOMC. Not in that way, indeed. The LPOA form will be sent by FXDD to you as soon as you register for an account via the link. Matus is asking, at one point there was a steep increase. That was indeed a point where there was a strong zone of consecutive wins, correct. And that could really accelerate because then with one win, the account is bigger. So the next win, it's kind of like a balloon kind of effect. It mushrooms in a way, and that could really push it up. So you see it in an impulse. Then sometimes you see kind of like a bull flag in a sense, like the account will make some ups and downs, but shallow, kind of like a sideways move, and then again an impulse, again in a kind of a momentum in a way, just like the market, just like the chart. And of course, there will be moments at some times where there is a retracement, and it could be a deeper retracement at times. But those deeper retracements, as far as I can see, I don't see them happening too often. But yes, occasionally they will happen. But typically, a lot of times, the zones, if there is a kind of consolidation, is like a bull flag pattern. If you look at the chart, the same for the equity curve. All right. All right. Yes, indeed, it will be uploaded to the ECS YouTube channel. This is the email I was sent. It's info@elitecurrency.com. So I read through most of the chats. If anything is left undiscussed, please feel free to reach out again. Membership at this point is not available. Only the profit sharing model. But if you try to open an account with FXDD and you're not able to because, for instance, of the country that you're from, then write us an email. I just had just added the address there. All right, and no, they will have to be through FXDD accounts. All right. The minimum or ideal starting capital minimum is whatever the FXDD offers. So I think that is $100. I think the minimum. Ideal, that's up to you. Of course, if you start with a higher amount, then higher. Let me say anything that you feel comfortable with, obviously. But then you can reach your profit goals quicker. With trading, obviously, money counts. You know that's the fact of trading. You need money to make money. There's no way around it, unfortunately. So if you start small, then you might not reach the kind of the profit targets you have in mind, obviously, right? But if you don't want to start too big either, or above your comfort zone, let me say it this way, because then you might get stressed, which is also not good, and you might not make it for the long term. So you can choose anything you want. There is really literally no minimum except whatever the FXDD wants. But think about that balance. If you're too conservative, then you might regret that. You don't want to be too aggressive in the sense that you go out of your comfort zone either. Everyone has a different answer to that. I can't say what that level is. That depends. You should only, of course, trade with risk capital in any case, obviously. You can stop trading any moment. At this moment, we're only offering Eurodollar 15-minute chart with 5% risk. So when trading that is part of the deal at the moment, and that's part of the the offer basically. But you can stop at any moment. You have your own account. That account is in your control, and the strategy works with MAs and FIBs, for instance. I explained a little bit later on, or earlier ago. Sorry. KP Doran, yes, you can watch the trades on MT4, of course, no problem. You can open it and see how those trades are going. Not an issue to look and keep an eye on them, absolutely. And if you can handle that, that's fine. Just if you feel nervous about it, then it might be good not to watch too often, if you know what I mean, so that you're not tempted to sway away from what the EA is doing. The broker shares the profit correctly. You do not need to do any additional steps or actions for that. Correct. No, you don't need a joint account. As far as I know, the joint account is that if you open an account with multiple people, if you are opening an account for yourself, you don't. You can just you could just open a personal account. There's no need to open a joint account for the EA. You can add capital at any time you want. We have a limit of 2 trades per day. We also have a version where we have unlimited trades per day, but the drawdown is a little bit more volatile. So we think that could be an option in the future, but for now, we're going to offer the more conservative approach, and we'll see how that goes in the future. This is a good starting step, and then we'll see. The money is deducted from the account, indeed, for profit sharing, and it is done indeed automatically, or it's done by the broker. Let me say it this way. Indeed, it's automatically done by the broker after each month. Correct. If in profit, obviously. As I mentioned already before, you don't need to be online. You don't have to have a VPS. You don't have to have a PC or Mac, or it's irrelevant if you have a PC or Mac. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have your MT4 on. You don't have to have MT4. If you want to keep an eye on the trades, obviously feel free to go for it and take a look at it and keep an eye on it. As long as you don't get nervous from it, then it's fine. If you feel nervous from it, in our view, then best just to say, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to take a look a month later and do that 12 months and then make a decision after 12 months. If opening accounts, choose ECN or Pro. ECN or Pro. All right. Now, with regard to countries FXDD accepts, please take a look at FXDD itself. And if you're not able to open an account through FXDD because of the country of origin that you're from, reach out to us, please, through info@elitecurrency.com, through email or Facebook for that matter. And let us know. Manual trades, no. Manual decisions for EA, no. We talked about that already. Yes, this is valid right here, right now. You can start right here, right now. This is something that is active, as is. There were traders asking, is it ready? Yes, you can join. One of the countries that is probably not accepted by FXDD, as far as I remember, is US. So in that case, write us an email, and there's the email address. And last but not least, if you are going to try it out and you're going to start, which I hope you do, and then you see, for instance, the EA didn't close. There was a trade in profit, but the EA didn't hit the target and didn't close it yet, and it turned into a loss. And you're wondering why, and why didn't the trade move the stop loss, or why didn't it close? Be assured that all of it is according to the strategy, but the strategy is not there, or is not out there to catch a win for the next setup. The strategy is out there to make sure that it follows the rules so that we can have that long-term edge, not whether the next trade is a win or not. That's not relevant. The relevant key goal is, if we follow the set of rules for the strategy, we have a good chance of making a decent profit in the long run. Long-term stats and results is always the focus that we have. So, if a trade is a little bit up, but then ends in a loss, that's part of, and it's obviously according to the strategy, because that's automated, then that's part of the trading, that's part of the process. In some cases, one trade will go right away to the target. In other cases, it will go almost right away to the stop loss. In other cases, it might go up a little bit, then to the stop loss. In other cases, it might go up, correction, and then to the target. The individual, let's say, development of a trade is really irrelevant. It's not about one trade. It's about a whole series of trades that we're positive in after a whole bunch of trades, right? After 6 months, after a year, kind of that mindset is what we are doing, and what we're looking for, and what we created, and what we wanted with this EA. So that's kind of what you got to keep in mind with this. Because it's one trade a day on average, not every day isn't going to give, obviously, be a profitable day, because of one trade. So that's the average. So if one trade is a loss, then obviously there could be a good chance there's no trades anymore, right? So we tried different targets, but it lowered the profitability. So all kind of scenarios were tested, all kind of variations were tested, all kind of scenarios were tested. And obviously, we, in our view, did not over optimize. If you're worried about that, don't worry about that. We found a balance in that testing. We did look at various scenarios, and we found out that yes, closer targets will increase the win rate. Maybe it feels better inside, but in the long run, it's better, more profitability to go for further targets and go for a win rate that is about 55 to 60 on average. Of course, the system does a great job to adapt to market movements, in our view. So while keeping an eye on those long-term stats. Okay. All right. So back to some of the questions in the chat. Once your account is funded, it's right away. It's already connected to the master account, so it's zero lag. So the biggest kind of time point is opening the account and doing the form. Once that is done, once you fund it, because then your account is already connected to the master at that point. So once you fund it, it will start right away. There's no lag in that. Eagles is asking, yes, I will indeed continue with SWOT signals once I finish the SWOT course. So that probably will be in about a few weeks, I hope, plus minus. How does profit taking affect when we add or withdraw capital? So if you add capital, the next trade will take the new capital into account and will take a risk based on the new capital. And if you withdraw money, then it's probably better to have then you got to be careful that you don't get into leverage problems, because if you have a couple of trades open and you start to remove capital, so it's best probably to close those trades, I guess, or some of them at least, to make sure that there's no problem with the leverage there, right? So if you want to withdraw, adding is not a problem. You add, and then the next trade, it will take the lot size for that new capital with the 5% risk. But if you want to withdraw, just keep that in mind. Best is to withdraw if there are no trades open. That's the easiest, because then when there are no trades open, then the account will automatically take the correct lot size with the new capital amount, the lower one. If you don't want to wait, then just keep in mind that you might want to close a trade or so to not to get into trouble in that way. Yes, the form is sent indeed to you by FXDD, correct? Let's see. Profit sharing is calculated with the difference between the last profit taking. I think that's a good question, actually. So the question is from Vit Riser. So if we have, I'm not 100% sure on that. I would have to check it, actually. Question is, if we reach 3K, let's say 3K is the peak, right? And we go into 4K, is it the profit sharing done from 4 minus 3 or from the previous starting point at 2.5, let's say, if it goes from 2.5 to 4? I would say 3, but I'm not 100% sure about that. That's something I would have to double check, to be honest, because I could say it's from 4 to 3, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Maybe Mislav knows. We can get back to you on that. Maybe the best if you could write us an email, and I will do an update through an article to give more information on that. So I will follow up on that with an article. If you want to keep an eye on that, please, that would be. And if you want to know directly, feel free to write an email to us. I'll double check that. Charles is asking, what is the minimum balance to open an account with FXDD? whatever FXDD has a minimum is our minimum. I'm not sure what. I think that the minimum might depend. I'm not sure what the minimum is actually with FXDD. It could vary. Sometimes brokers have different levels for different countries. I'm not sure if FXDD has that actually. So please, if you could check with FXDD on that, but it is quite low. I think that I do think that $100 to most cases is the minimum, I believe. So it's a very low bar as far as I know. Yes, more than one trade is running at a time, definitely. 2 per day at the max at the moment, new trades, but there definitely could be a range of trades open. Don't be worried about that. That's absolutely, definitely happens. Not only that, but it could be sometimes, many times. Last weeks, there was more like 1 to 3 trades open, but a couple of weeks ago, there were really sometimes like, how many were there, Mislav? Like 6, 8 trades sometimes. Right? That's a bit more rare, but definitely can happen. This is auto trading. This is the special launch offer indeed at this moment. What the current kind of setup that we are offering now is the special launch, because in a sense that we try to make it accessible to everyone without any upfront costs, upfront fees. So instead of, let's face it, a lot of EAs would ask money for this. So instead of, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000, I don't know, whatever, you can invest that money into the trading capital, and we give a lot of flexibility into what kind of capital you choose. But keep in mind that although you might start, let's say, low because you think, I want to test this, think about it though, because if you have certain profit targets in mind, of course, if you go for more balanced, more capital that can create more, of course, that might reach your targets faster. So keep that in mind. I would personally trade something that you think has sense for you, but don't go into a zone, of course, that you feel uncomfortable with. But yeah, we wanted to keep the opportunity open for everyone. So that's why we have no minimum for the moment, and we want to have everyone a chance to boost their accounts. Yes, mention Ultima in conversations. If you if you fill in the form, for instance, as a trading agent, then write Ultima or Ultima EA, then it's definitely clear for FXDD, indeed. No, there's no deadline for the moment. No, don't worry. But eventually, yes, there is a point where we're going to change it a bit, and we'll probably have a minimum. But I mean, there's no plan for that or a deadline or something like that for the moment. I would say we didn't even think about it, but for sure, let's say 2 months like this. Do you have the time? For sure, 2 months, I guess. Maybe longer. We didn't even discuss it, to be honest. But definitely don't worry about the next 2 months, okay? Probably more, but definitely 2 months. How many clients are linked to master account? That really depends on how many people join. So there's no max on that. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, I understand, Charles. I understand that. So take your time. That's why we're going to give a couple of months, right? So hopefully you get into a spot where you do have some risk capital available, and always, of course, trade with risk capital. Absolutely. Yeah, there is no deadline with regard to starting. There is no deadline, indeed. Feel free to start anytime. What I was referring to is the no minimum capital, of course. The bad reputation FPA. Well, to be honest, I mean, every broker, I think, or many brokers, maybe not everyone, but I don't know, 99.9, I guess, really, like, let me say this way, a high percentage have that with FPA, with FPA. Yeah. So that's kind of the same situation, I think. The advantage of FXDD is the fact that we're trading euro dollar. We are trading in EA. So, and we know also we have good relationships with FXDD. So if there are any issues, we can reach out and get things sorted and solved. So I wouldn't personally worry about that too much. You can try the EA, see how comfortable you feel with all of the aspects that are connected to a broker. You can try it with a low amount, so you can see if you think that things are going smoothly with the broker side, broker aspect of things. That's another advantage of no minimum capital. And then if you feel comfortable with the FXDD broker, as we expect you will, then you can add. So I think that's probably the best. It's just because with the comments, they're always, that's kind of the same for many. So probably the best is just to test it with small amounts, get hands-on, actual own experience, and then decide if you feel comfortable with more capital with this broker. I think you will, and I think that you will not see any issues when trading this EA with this broker. Let's see. Are you worried about oversupplies and counts falling? No. We will, of course, keep an eye on, monitor everything, of course, how things are going, obviously. But we did testing, so I think everything is prepared. Obviously, if there are any things that pop up, we'll be ready to discuss that with FXDD and discuss it within our own team. And us, we'll try to solve anything as soon as quick as possible. So I think we're prepared. I think everything is smooth, running smooth. There are already traders trading now. Our master account has been trading long, and I don't expect any issues. You never know. If there are any issues, of course, us, we trying to respond as quickly as possible, of course. Let's see. Yeah, there's always a risk, of course, with the 50% drawdown, of course, is substantial because we're trading it with high risk, obviously, because the number of consecutive losses, I'm repeating myself, but is low. There is always that risk. That's why I'm emphasizing risk, trade with risk capital, and choose something you feel comfortable with. That's not, let's say, too high, but also I believe not too low, because if you want to have some profit targets in mind. What is the risk of, I don't, the percentage, I don't know. When looking at backtesting, it wasn't, of course, it didn't go down to zero. So that percentage is difficult to quantify, I don't know, but is always there, of course. So you got to therefore trade with risk capital. Which minimum is okay for start? Yeah, it depends what kind of profit targets you have in mind, what kind of goals you have with it. Are you only trading the EA? Are you trading other accounts? How sensitive are you to losing, let's say, having a drawdown with that account? Do you feel comfortable with that? So I'm trading it with 20K, 20,000 euros, right? But I wouldn't want to trade it with 50. I would feel uncomfortable with that. So everyone has their own comfort zone. I went for 20 because I have certain profit targets in mind. And if I would then trade with 1, I would be unsatisfied with the gains that are made. So, but for other person, that might be 1,000 is the comfort zone, and 5,000 might be uncomfortable, and 100 might be too low. For someone else, 15,000 might be too much. 10,000 is the comfort, the ideal zone, and 3,000 is too low. I don't know. I'm just making random examples here. So it's definitely okay. Whatever you want to start with is okay. It really depends on how aggressive you want to be. Can you handle it? One thing is for sure is that you want to trade with risk capital, and you want to be comfortable with handling drawdowns with that capital. And you want to, if you have a certain capital in mind, you want to, of course, kind of have if you have a certain target in mind, then the higher you start, the quicker you'll get to that target, obviously. Okay, we got Milad saying, I have a target to make $500. Do you think 3,000 is a good for the target with Ultima EA? So Ultima EA is that target is low in a way for Ultima EA, because we're looking at kind of mushrooming. What we're doing is letting the account stay 500 monthly. Well, when we look at the back testing, we had it's the only thing is like monthly target is not so good. If you really always want to hit 500, then I can say no, because it's not every month necessarily in profit. It is 2 out of 3 months plus minus in profit, and 1 out of 3 months it's about break even or a loss. So there are going to be 1 out of 3 months on average where there's a loss. So it's not always going to hit 500. In some months it's going to hit 3,000 because it's going to make 100%, and in other months it might be minus 10%. So that's something. That's part of it. All right, Magnus is saying that if you have any problems with withdrawing money, then you can reach out to us, and we will get in contact with FXDD, and we have close contacts there, and we will sort that out and do our best to resolve that. If there are indeed any of those problems, if there are any cases of that, then immediately write to us and let us know. Definitely, don't hesitate. Daver, that depends with what insurance you're comfortable with. Yes, that's me self answer indeed. Marco, there is no price actually, so it is a profit sharing model. So for the moment, only profit is shared with no upfront costs or fees. I myself already answered that too. Magnus is saying we add another broker soon. No, that's not the plan at the moment. I'm not saying though that we will never do that, right? There is a point we might do that and could do that. It's just not in the planning, so I can't really share anything. I cannot say anything about it. I just can say that it's definitely something that can happen, but I don't know when. We didn't really discuss that. Let's see. Is there any risk of my account going to negative territory? Good question, actually. I need to double check that. I don't remember by heart. So that's something I need to check. I need to check two things. Great questions. One is about indeed the profit sharing point, right? What is exactly considered profit and what is exactly shared, and about the negative territory. I don't know 100%. Profit sharing is done on a monthly basis. Definitely not every trade. No. End of the month, then it's calculated if there is a profit sharing or not, right? Definitely monthly. So guys and girls, main thing is that we have nothing to gain unless you're gaining. Really, that's really 500,000% here. visible. And so, yeah, we're excited. So we are trading it ourselves. We're excited about the performance so far. We're looking forward to the next months to see how those things go. And that's why we're here at this moment. We reached the 6-month mark. Seemed like a good moment after 1.5 years to offer that and let you try it out if you want to, of course, with a low bar, with a win-win model. And we hope that you try it. And we hope that, of course, you'll join the Ultima community. It would be great. If not, no problem, no hard feelings. Keep following Elite CurrenSea with other things. But yeah, it would be great if you tried it, or if you're more confident if you started seriously trading it, right? So yeah, very exciting point for us, at least. Yes, I will add Veet's question about the negative torture as well in the article. So those things I will add in the article indeed. There will be a article on the webinar recording. If I have the answers by then, which I think I will, then it will be added in that article. Otherwise, a new article, but should be soon. Yeah, that's Mike is like our vision too. We're just letting the account grow, just letting it there, and just keeping it grow. That is our vision too. We want to build the account. Some of you might want to take profit quicker and sooner, and that's nothing wrong with that necessarily as well. Of course, it's up to you. But yeah, that is our kind of vision with regard to the account. With regard to evaluating the performance, I personally urge you to be patient and really look at it from a long-term perspective, 6 to 12 months before you give a evaluation of it, preferably a year. If you have that patience, give it a year, let it run a year, and then make kind of an opinion on it. Yes, choose Alan Fernandez is saying or asking about the spreads. So spreads are with it's ECN, open to ECN or pro accounts, and with the euro dollars, low spreads, normal low spreads on the euro dollar. All right, so open an ECN pro account. That's the best to keep the spreads lower. This is an EA that is traded on the master account. And the master account, Marco Sandor sends those trades, communicates those trades to all accounts. Mislav is saying that the spread is up to half a pip. Yes, the lot size, of course, will vary depending on your capital. The risk is always 5%. Plus minus, of course, because it depends on how much capital you have. Sometimes it could be a little bit more or less because of the lot size hurdles, right? If you go from 0.1 to 0.2 micros, right? The higher the capital, the more precise the lot size and the risk will be. All right. Is the robot installed? No, it's not installed on your on the MetaTrader. It is actually on the master account. The EA is traded on the master account, which sends the signals to the accounts, to your accounts. All right. Yes, Dave, you can see the my FX book link here. I will send you the link. For those that are looking at the recording, you can see here the link of the live of trading. That is the MyFX book link. And once you indeed connect the account or open account through the link we have on the Ultima page here, then you will be connected to that master account automatically. All right, folks. So, well, Mislav, Nikolic, and I, Chris Worstek, we are very happy that you were here and gave it a try, came here to get more information. We appreciate that very much. And we're excited. So join us, I guess, if you have the risk capital, of course, and can't wait to have you start. Thank you so much, everyone, for your comments, the engagement, the curiosity, great stuff. We're looking forward to start this adventure together, let's say. Yes, really also want to thank Mislav for a lot of hard work there, folks. Really great job. And yeah, that's 1.5 years of dedication, folks. So great job. And once again, this is going to be uploaded to YouTube ECS Elite Currency. If you want to watch it again, info@elitecurrency.com for follow-up questions. And I guess that's it. Thank you so much, and wish you all great trading and a great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.